Venom, Deadpool, even Spike. Sometimes a villain is just too popular to stay a villain, and they have to become a hero. And what happens in the case when the villain isn't popular at all? Ever since Constrictor first appeared in Incredible Hulk number 212, he's kind of just been a thug of the week or a hired gun, not really a big consequence villain. So let's take a look now as one writer took Constrictor across 3 different titles and made him a hero. It started in Dan Slott's awesome run on She-Hulk in She-Hulk number 9. The whole journey starts with a random group of bad guys robbing a bank, and Hercules comes to stop them. Constrictor is teaming up with Armadillo and Jack-O-Lantern, and Hercules stops them quite easily, beats the crap out of them in fact, and destroys Constrictor. So, Constrictor doing the natural thing, he decides to sue Hercules for excessive force. There's some legal stuff going back and forth, but in the end, Hercules has to pay Constrictor a butt-ton of money. He's like, well, all my riches. Then, about a year later, Dan Slott is writing a Thing ongoing series. Something happened in the Fantastic Four where the Thing had also come into a bunch of money. I don't remember the ins and outs of it, but the Thing is rich, and this is kind of his solo series about that. The Thing is at this fancy party for rich people. And who else is there? The Thing is there, Kyle Richmond is there, he is Nighthawk, Tony Stark is there, Iron Man of course, but he's not Iron Man at this time. That's what the public thinks, don't worry about it. And also, Frank Schlitzling, I don't know how to pronounce it, and I'm not gonna say it again, I'll say Frank. Frank is there, and he is Constrictor, and he is feeling very out of place. He's like, oh, I'm all rich and stuff, and I'm at this rich people party, and I just don't know how to fit in. Tony Stark comes up and is like, hey Frank, you're a villain, and you suck, and I hate you. And he's actually being a real dick and a bully to him, and then Kyle Richmond walks up and says, hey, Tony, piss off. Kind of saves him. And he takes Constrictor under his wing. He's like, hey, let's be buddies. I'll show you how to be rich, I guess. But of course, it just can't be a common fancy rich people party in a comic book without something exciting happening. So Arcade shows up and kidnaps all the fancy rich people. Everybody wakes up, and they are all of a sudden in their costume. Kyle Richmond's in his Nighthawk costume, Frank is in his Constrictor costume, the Thing is his costume, and they're like, we need to get away off this island. And Arcade's like, haha, I put you all in your costume so you could have a chance at this and stuff. Constrictor's like, no, I'm a bad guy. And over the course of the adventure, he's working with Nighthawk, and at one point he does try to just take off. He's like, no, I'm a bad guy, I'm saving my own skin. And Nighthawk, they have a good chat about, hey, man, I used to be a villain too, so you can just do this, help us get off this island. And there's one point where this escape pod is taking off, and Constrictor shoots out his lash, and he grabs it, and the Thing is like, I knew that snake was no good. He's like, no, wait, look. And then they look up, and there's big cannons that were about to blow out of the sky, and Constrictor actually is doing something heroic, and he nearly tears himself in half doing it until the Thing comes and helps him. And then everybody comes up, women included, which probably played a part in doing it. They're all like, oh my god, you're a hero, you're so good. And he's like, oh, cool. Between talking to Richmond and actually saving people and having them not be afraid of him, having people actually congratulate him, he's kind of like, okay, maybe I should be a hero. And he's talking, I'm gonna get a Constrictor mobile and a Constrictor cave, and they're like, calm down, you're getting crazy here. And within his backstory, which I'm not going to get too into, he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that kind of turned over to a life of crime and a whole thing. So he did initially start out with the best intention. But it's just he was always a bad guy to get money, and then he just all of a sudden has money. He's like, oh, kind of without purpose. He's like, I don't exactly know what to do. It really honestly seemed to enjoy being a hero. The next time we see him, the Thing is holding a poker game for heroes, as he's wont to do. It happens regularly. And all these heroes are gathered here, and Constrictor is there. I think that's pretty cool. He's just in a room, recently former villain, in a room with all these heroes, and nobody's really batting an eye. Him and Hercules are having a series of high-stakes side bets, and he loses a bunch of money to Hercules. So I think that's just the whole thing there. Just resetting Hercules' millions, I guess. I don't know. And then it's another year and a half later in Avengers the Initiative by Dan Slott again. This is after Civil War had happened, and the heroes are split. If you need more information on Civil War, I am again going to direct you to my friend Segan Retro's channel. My God, does he have Civil War for you. So it's after Civil War, and they set up a new camp to train new heroes and whatnot, and in the background you can see Constrictor, because he's fully wanting to be a hero. And at some point, Henry Gyrick comes up to him and says, I'm putting together this Shadow Initiative team for covert operations and whatnot, and I want to offer you a spot on this team. And Constrictor's like, he's consulting with Kyle Richmond, Nighthawk. Oh man, I kind of wanted to be a hero out in the open so people could see me, but then you're offering me a full pardon if I do this. What should I do? And Kyle's like, you might be crazy if you don't take it. So he does. He gets teamed up with Bengal and Mutant Zero and a few other people, and they form this team that kind of operates in the shadows, but they are doing heroic good things. He actually forms quite the camaraderie with Bengal. And then eventually, in the line of duty, he gets Dooku'd and he loses his hands. Kyle Richmond comes to visit him in the hospital and to give him a medal for his service from the president, like a hero. And he's like, dude, nobody can say you're not truly heroic now. You've given up your arms in the line of duty. I am so sorry. And Constrictor's like, nah, don't worry about it. This is kind of cool. Check this out. And he's got these new robot arms that have every finger is a Constrictor tendril, and he can do stuff with it. And he continues on with the Shadow Initiative. Now, over time, Dan Slott did leave that book, and Christos Gage came on, so I guess I lied when I said it was Run Writer's Journey. Mainly the arc of him becoming a hero was up to Dan Slott. Christos Gage had continued it sort of. At this point, Norman Osborn, the Secret Invasion had come and gone, and Norman Osborn had taken over, and he was kind of turning the Initiative camp into a villain camp to train up villains. Taskmaster was now in charge. And Frank, Constrictor, had kind of become the public face. Everybody's like, oh, look at this villain that can become a hero, and the cameras loved him, and he has these robot arms and stuff, and his sacrifice. He just became a media darling, so he was kind of taken off of the Initiative. Taskmaster talking about how the Initiative is just cannon fodder now, being sent out to slaughter, and Constrictor does show some concern. He's like, well, what about Bengal? Because him and Bengal had become comrades, right? And Taskmaster's like, don't worry about it. Frank's kind of keeping his own skin alive at this point. He's turning somewhat back villainy, but not fully. But he's helping. Him and Taskmaster actually became quite good friends among this time. But also in this time, he used his Constrictor powers. There was a whole thing, and he held back this plane and saved Diamondback's life. And Diamondback is another former villain that became a partner of Captain America and a girlfriend of Captain America. They were never quite crossed paths in the Serpent Society because Constrictor never actually joined them, but they were familiar with each other. And they began dating. And Constrictor was like, oh man, he's like quite happy and content for the first time in his life. But Diamondback was working with Captain America and the secret underground Avengers squad, and she was infiltrating Camp Hammond to do that. And Constrictor found out, and she was like, oh, okay. But he's like, no, I'm not going to sell you out. No. So he's never fully working with the good guys on this one, but he was absolutely helping Diamondback cover her tracks and stuff until the time came that Norman Osborn just went full crazy and they invaded Asgard in the siege, and that was a whole other thing. Constrictor is like really hesitant to leave Diamondback. He keeps like saving her and stuff, and she's like, I can take care of myself. And he's like, I know. And then this building comes crashing down and they get separated. And then she is down and she sees Captain America. And she's like, oh my God, thank God you're here. Like, we're going to take care of this stuff. Here's my information. And Frank comes out of the rubble and he looks down and sees Diamondback talking to Captain America, and just instantly he's like, oh man, like she's back with Captain America. A guy like me could never stand up to a guy like that. She's gonna pick him. And then meanwhile, she's down there talking to Captain America, like, Captain America, you've got to help me find Frank. He's in this rubble. We got to bury him out. And he's like, who's Frank? And she's like, it's the guy I'm in love with. And then Taskmaster comes up and was like, look at that. She's with Captain America. Look, let's get out of here. And they hop on a couple of Goblin gliders and they fly off, and they're next scene in Japan taking jobs. So Constrictor has just gone back to full criminal again. And most of his appearances after that, he was a bad guy again. I wish the story of Constrictor's hero, he did a little spell as a hero and then became a villain, and that was that. But no, Nick Spencer was writing Sam Wilson, Captain America, and in issue number 5, he just shat on everything. Yeah, Nick Spencer and artist Paul Renaud just didn't take a look at history when they decided all of a sudden we see Constrictor and Diamondback sharing an apartment, living together, happy as can be. In none of the comics did they ever get back together or reconcile, or did Constrictor really become a hero. So there's just Diamondback and Constrictor living happily. And you see this shot of Constrictor sitting on a couch. Not only does he not have robot hands, he also just has blonde hair and looks kind of like Captain America. Whereas every single other time we saw Constrictor out of costume, he had black hair and a hell of a widow's peak, glasses sometimes. So not only did they not look back at the actual history of what the character had become and his relationships, and yes, stuff could happen off panel, that's fine, but they didn't even look at the physical characteristics of the character. Oh, it's Constrictor, he's probably never been anything. And yes, I understand, it's just that, it's Constrictor. Why am I getting so worked up? Constrictor is nobody's favorite character. Constrictor is one of my favorite characters. He's in this one, not on the cover. Constrictor's one of my favorite characters. Something you should take into account as a writer is that everybody is someone's favorite character. You just have to appreciate the continuity and respect it. Long story short, Constrictor does the old cough, blood, oh no, dying. And the whole thing was a way to get Diamondback into the book. I didn't keep reading, I don't know what happened after that, but Constrictor did die, which itself led to another awesome story involving something else. I'm gonna get into it in another video, because Sabretooth is another one of my favorite characters, and the fact that Sabretooth and Constrictor have such a shared history, you just have to subscribe. Oh, look at that. Subscribe and look forward to that video in the future. But yeah, back to this whole thing with Constrictor. I tried to look for an interview with Dan Slott explaining why he chose Constrictor, this C-tier villain, and why he had this side story running through 3 different books over a few years. But I couldn't find an interview where Dan Slott talked about that at all. So if you are Dan Slott, or you know how to reach Dan Slott, set up an interview with me. I would love to interview Dan Slott just talking about Constrictor and maybe Crusader. I would also like to interview Nick Spencer about Constrictor. I'd be like, what the hell, man? What up with that? I would say. Anyway, I've been Haussmann Comics. I have a bunch of videos if you want to check them out. If not, thank you for watching this one till the end and stuff. I ramble a lot. That's me. Bye.